Today we're going to go over some experiences I've had recently having God talk to me. Now, I usually don't get into this, but these have been interesting circumstances, so I thought I'd share them. So basically, some of you might know from previous talks that I've given that in my life, being pessimistic and not thinking always so happily, that's really easy for me. I can do that. Before I got involved in meditation, that was my predominant state. Pessimistic, unhappy, and kind of cranky. And so the more I've been meditating and the more I've been committed to this practice, the less and less it's become for me. And it's been during those times when God has in no uncertain terms talked to me directly. And it's blown my mind every single time it's happened. So yesterday, this is the second experience I've had, so I'm going to start there and go back. Yesterday, I was in one such a state, and the great thing about meditation and spiritual practice is even when I get in those states now, there's a part of me that knows it's not really a big deal. It's still there, but it's not a big deal. So I was still able to meditate. I sat down. I didn't have much to do that morning, so I meditated for a good hour and a half. And in that meditation, I specifically said, all right, I'm feeling this, dealing with this certain thing. In no unclear terms, you need to give me some kind of guidance. You need to tell me what's going on. Throughout the meditation, nothing happened except I felt more peaceful, more clear. Still a little grumpy. And we had Spud Patrol yesterday. And Spud Patrol there's a group of people that get together in Asheville, and they bake potatoes with sour cream and cheese and chives and butter, and they take them downtown, and they just give them out for free. We don't preach anything. It's just, if you're hungry and you're homeless, come get a potato, fine. So I was in charge of the chives, and I decided I was going to go, and I was going to just drop them off. I wasn't going to stay, because I didn't feel like it, right? So I dropped them off, and the two people who were in charge were already there serving. But then I kind of got in line and started helping them hand out stuff. And there was this, he's shorter than me, a little bit plumper, black man. And I've seen him there before, so I know he's homeless. And he was just standing there. And I'm there, I'm handing stuff out. And he looks at me and he says, "How are you doing?" I said, "Okay." He said, "How good is okay?" I said, "Pretty good." He said, "How good is pretty good?" I said, "Pretty all right." He said, "Oh, how good is pretty all right?" And so by this time, I'm getting a little irritated because I was already grumpy. And I was expecting him to go into some sort of evangelical speech after this, well, you're not doing so well, just do this and you'll be great, pray and that sort of thing. And so I was kind of not wanting to engage in it. So finally I said, "I'm doing excellent." And he said, "Well, how excellent is excellent?" And I thought, all right, I've got to put it into this. I said, "It can't get any better." And I thought that would be the end of it. I thought I would be done. So I'm there, I'm getting ready to put some more chives on this other guy's potato. And if you've ever gotten a message, you're in the middle of something, but then something just completely takes your attention, you're just completely focused on that. That's what happened. This guy looked me in the eyes, and I was aware of nothing else but this shorter, plumper, black gentleman with his potato in his hand. And he said to me, he says, "You live in the world." He says, "You know it can get better." He says, "You know anything can get better." And then what he said was, "All you need to do is get your mind straight, and I'll take care of the rest." And they looked at me, he's like, "Okay?" He's like, "You just get your mind straight, and I'll take care of the rest." And I almost started crying when this happened. And I said, "Okay." And I just didn't know what else to say. He just walked away. And so people can speak to you at the craziest times. And that was really a powerful. I went home, I wrote it down, and I've been reflecting on it, and it's just, that's why we meditate. That's why we're interested in spiritual growth. Because once we get our mind straight, then the divine consciousness, God, I wasn't thinking he was going to take care of everything, it was God. Once you get all that taken care of and your mind is straight, then this divine consciousness can move through you and take care of these things, And I've been meditating on that a lot. And it's the more and more I focus on it, the happier I get, and the more true it seems to be. So that's one message from Spud Patrol yesterday. Now, another story, which I think Michael cringes whenever I bring this story up because he I told it to him, and then I mentioned it earlier this morning. I was at the Y. Okay, and this was probably about a month and a half ago, a couple months ago. Same thing, one of these states came up for me. It's kind of in a funky space, had something I had to deal with, didn't quite know what to do with it. And in the morning, I go to the Y and I work out, and then I go in the steam room. And when I go in the steam room, I wear my swim trunks, and I take a shower in between. And in the men's locker room, they have a little device that you wad up your swim trunks and you stick them in the thing and hold it down. It spins them so it dries them out, So there I am in my sandals, and this guy comes up to me in his little blue Speedos. I think this is awkward. And he says to me, "Do you do yoga?" And I was thinking, I was like, well, sometimes I do yoga. That's not my main exercise routine. But sometimes your posture is just great. So there I am in my sandals. And he's talking about my posture. So I'm like, okay. And I'm just trying to be cool with it. And then he says to me, he's like, well, I broke my back a couple years ago. And he said, I was sanding floors, and it got caught on something, and it wrenched me and threw me against the wall. And he said, and I started doing yoga. And the doctors told me I wasn't going to get better. I was always going to be walking with a cane, wouldn't be able to do all the things I like to do. And they said to me, it wasn't until I knew that I could get better that I actually started to get better. And that was very pertinent to me at the time. It's only until I knew that I could get better that I actually started to get better. And then he just smiled real big, smacked me on the back, and said, wake up in the dream, my friend, wake up in the dream, and walked off. So these are two interesting experiences I've had. And, what they've really brought up for me, like when I first got involved in meditation and the spiritual path, these kind of things only really happened between me and Mr. Davis. Like when I went and I met with him, I never really went with him for questions. I just went to kind of hang out and see what he had to say. And he would always kind of tune in on something, and he would have some message to say that was very pertinent to what maybe I was working on at the time. But what I found is that, the deeper I meditated and the more committed I was, that these kinds of things start happening beyond just being at a meditation retreat. Now it's happening in the men's locker room, and it's happening when I'm handing out potatoes. So you see, what happens is, the more committed you are to waking up and being clear and understanding this, the fact that we are in this spiritual consciousness, it starts coming up just in your daily life, everywhere. Everyone becomes your teacher. Everyone becomes God. Everyone becomes your guru, right? And this is really important because both of those experiences, the message, the first one was, once you get your mind straight, I will take care of the rest. This divine consciousness will take care of the rest. And that takes a lot of trust, right? And that's what we're trying to do, is get beyond the ego, which thinks, I can do everything. I can take care of it. No matter what, I'm going to make this work. If the mind is straight, if the consciousness is clear, you will be open and receptive to things that you need within your life. You will be open and receptive to messages. You will be open and receptive to new opportunities. And so what I want to encourage you to do is, even when you feel like you're in a space where you don't think your spiritual practice is working, or you're feeling kind of funky, or whatever it might be, keep going, because you're still connecting, you're still making progress, you're still opening up doorways. It just might be that the terrain that you're on right now takes a little bit more effort than where you've been before. But you still got to go over it. You still got to do it. The earlier message, when the man said, it wasn't until I realized that I could get better that I started to. Think about all those times when you've been pessimistic about something, or you thought something wasn't going to work out, or you just had no idea how this was going to work for you. When you are focused more on that, I don't know how it's going to work, it's probably not going to. But when you focus more on the capacity, okay, I can't necessarily figure out what to do right now, but I know this is going to work out somehow. I know this can work out somehow. If you hold that in your consciousness, and you really feel it, you really believe it, then that opens up your consciousness to opportunities, to events, to people that can provide for you what you couldn't provide for yourself.